Thanks for being here, everybody. I'm Lisa Marshall. I'm the HeatSmart Program Director, and I'm going to hand things over first to Don Fisher, who is the Horseheads Town Supervisor, and to introduce himself and our little campaign here. And then, so take it away, Don, and say hello to the folks.
Hello, everybody. My name's Don Fisher. I'm the Horseheads Town Supervisor. And Lisa and Kelly approached us to make a resolution within the town to support their campaign, which they gave us a presentation, which was very helpful and very knowledgeable. So I'm not going to take long because they have a great program. And we're here to help them participate in the clean heat and offer our residents a free assessment of their home energy to any improvements or anything else, and make it comfortable and energy savings for you, and also help our residents lower the cost. It's no cost to anybody. There's grants out there, which I think Lisa and Kelly will explain. And some of the things I picked up when she did our presentation, I'm going to look into myself as a homeowner in the village. So Lisa, that's your program, so I want you to get these people the knowledge that you have.
Great. And I just want Mark to have a chance to say hello to folks. So go ahead, Mark, not to forget the village.
No, you were perfect. So Mark Cronin's my name. I'm a village trustee in the village of Horseheads. Like Town Supervisor Fisher just mentioned, the program through HeatSmart seemed to be something that worked very well. Seems like it would do well for our residents. No cost assessment. So we're very excited to allow this within our village limits, and we'll go from there. So I'll let you folks take it away.
All right, super. So as I said before, I'm Lisa Marshall. I'm the HeatSmart Program Director. I live here in the town of Horseheads. I've lived here with my family for the past 12 years after my husband retired from the United States Navy after 21 years. We just consider ourselves so lucky to find ourselves here in beautiful Horseheads, New York. And we live up on the hill. I don't know if you can see, but I have the view of the town and big flats out this window, and it's just a very special place, and we're really happy to have raised our kids here. And a couple of years ago, I became the program director of HeatSmart Tompkins, which was the first HeatSmart program in the state, and we expanded our offerings to include Chemung County last year. So we're slowly and surely getting to know, getting the word out in Chemung County about the program and how people can participate. And we're really, really grateful to the village and the town for showing this leadership of partnering with us on this community campaign to help get the words out here in Horseheads. So I'm going to share my screen, show a few slides, typical Zoom protocol, if you don't mind muting while the presentation happens, and then I'll switch over and introduce our next speaker. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. So the HeatSmart program is a community nonprofit. We are dedicated to education and outreach about home energy efficiency and any kind of climate solutions that have to do with your home. And we like to emphasize what we call the 3 C's: the cost savings, the comfort, and the climate solutions that you can realize by implementing these energy efficiency solutions in your home. And I've added this 4th C of convenience more recently because I'm talking to more and more people who really need a more convenient heating and cooling system for their home. We don't make any profit off of anything that you might decide to buy as a result of our program. And so we're just here to offer information, education, and support. So I said we're one of the HeatSmart programs. We were the first HeatSmart program. We're funded by NYSERDA, that's the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, which basically means we're funded by all of us on this call, and every New Yorker who pays a utility bill in New York pays a little fee each month called the Systems Benefit Charge. The Systems Benefit Charge funds this agency, NYSERDA, which helps to implement smart energy solutions and innovation across New York State. And HeatSmart started just with a few people sitting around a table thinking, how can we help our neighbors to learn about energy efficiency and heat pumps? And they started this program just as a small grassroots effort. And I sort of actually just loved what they were doing and decided to fund it and to make funds available to other communities across New York. And as you can see from this map now, most New Yorkers are now served by a HeatSmart or a clean heating and cooling campaign. And we're just so proud of being the first one to innovate and pioneer this idea. And you can see us here in the dark blue with Tompkins and Chemung County. There's now HeatSmart Finger Lakes South here to the west of us, a brand new program that launched last year, and HeatSmart Southern Tier that covers Tioga, and Broome, and Shenango, and Delaware counties. So if you have friends in another county who are interested in taking part, we can help direct them to the HeatSmart program that's closest to them. Well, why the heck do we need such a thing as a community campaign for clean heat? And that is because we find ourselves in what some are calling the climate crisis or the climate emergency, this rapidly warming atmosphere that we have because of the ever increasing amounts of greenhouse gases. Those are the gases that when we burn things like fossil fuels, they go up into the atmosphere and are trapped there, and they trap the sun's heat. Now we need that greenhouse to keep the earth habitable, but the problem is we've been putting a lot more gases into the atmosphere in the past 200 years and more each year, to the point where it's difficult for our natural systems to adapt to this rapidly warming atmosphere. So as a society, as a humanity, as a state, as a country, we all need to start to figure out how do we reverse that trend of increased greenhouse gases and start to figure out how to put less of them into the atmosphere. And here in New York, we passed a law last year called the CLCPA, the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. And that actually requires us as a state to reduce emissions from all sectors by a certain amount by 2030 and by an even greater amount by 2050. Problem is no one knows how to do this and they've never done it before. So we're all working together to figure it out. And one of the biggest sectors is our buildings, because on-site combustion of fossil fuels in buildings is, as you can see from this graphic, about a third of New York State emissions. So if we're going to reduce emissions from our buildings, we have to think about how do we use energy in our buildings, because we have to heat our buildings. We live in a cold climate. It was nice that today was the first really chilly day of the year, and we had this webinar to remind us that heating season is here. And if you haven't turned on your heat yet, you probably will soon. And so most of our energy use in New York is for heating. A little bit of that is for air conditioning. This graphic is from Minnesota, but it's not too different than New York. And then also we like to look at the water heating, which is about 15 to 20% of our energy use. So heating and water heating are the two things HeatSmart mostly focuses on. So what do we recommend? We recommend that you have somebody take a look at your building envelope. That is how well insulated and air sealed your home or building is. And the reason for that is you all know this, that if you have a well insulated and air sealed building, that warmed air that you warmed up with your furnace or your boiler or your heat pump will stay inside with you instead of going out through the roof and the ceiling and the foundation and wherever else it can get out. And so that's really important. And then the main thing we like to talk about is how to do that space heating and the cooling, because heat pumps that we recommend are the most efficient way to heat your home. And they also provide
lotion or something. And she rubs it on her legs. She said she loves it.
Somebody might need, Dawn, I think you need to mute.
Oh, really?
There we go. Okay. So as I was saying, heat pumps are the most efficient way to heat and also to cool your building. And there's many different kinds to suit different situations and different price points. And then also there's the so-called heat pump hot water heater, or the dual or the hybrid hot water heater, which we really recommend for heating hot water. So what the heck is a heat pump? Well, you actually already have one in your house. That's the same technology that keeps the inside of the refrigerator cold. And if you've ever put your hand behind the refrigerator, you felt that warm air coming out. That's because the heat pump actually works to move the heat energy out of the refrigerator and keep the inside cold, and it gets vented to the back. So a heat pump that heats or cools your house is really the same idea. There's a closed loop of a refrigerant chemical, and that refrigerant chemical, when you put it under low pressure, it evaporates and absorbs heat. And when you put it under higher pressure, it condenses and it gives off heat. And that simple physics can be used in a number of different ways for this heat pump technology that can heat and provide air conditioning to your house. So let's look at a couple of those. This slide shows some of the common kinds of heat pump technologies that we see and that a lot of people have adopted after going through our program. On the left here is a standard air source heat pump. This one's called a ductless mini split. This is the piece that sits outside, and you've probably seen these. A lot of people and stores actually have these just for air conditioning, which is really too bad because they make a great product, these cold climate heat pumps, where these mini splits actually can provide a whole home heating solution as well as cooling for your house. This you can see is the refrigerant line. It goes through this line set and then into the inside of the house where there's indoor either floor or wall mounted heads that distribute the warm or cool air. Here's in the middle is the ground source heat pump. That's kind of, or sometimes called a geothermal heat pump. That's sort of the gold standard of heat pumps. The heating exchange coils go in the ground and take advantage of the fact that the ground is always about 50 degrees all year round. And so that's a great temperature to extract heat from, to warm up your house or to put heat back into when you're cooling. And the ground source heat pump system can also provide your home's hot water. This is by far the most efficient and long-lasting heating system that you can put into a home or a building, with the downside being that the upfront cost of these systems is fairly expensive, although there are incentives that help pay for it. And this guy over here is the heat pump water heater that I mentioned before. It's basically a typical electric water heater, but with this little heat pump on top that preheats the water. So the electric coils inside on the bottom only have to keep the already heated water hot instead of heating it up from cold, and that provides the efficiency. And if you have a high efficiency and pretty new heating system and aren't ready to switch that out, but you have an old water heater, the heat pump water heater is a great place to start, especially now there's a great rebate for these and a federal tax credit. And if you're income qualified, there's additional grants that can bring the cost of this down to either very low or sometimes zero. So I mentioned cost savings. Here in Horseheads, most of us are on gas, so the cost savings are not very dramatic. But if you do know any folks who are, or if you are on propane or electric resistance heat or oil, the cost savings switching to a heat pump system are really dramatic. And it's sort of not whether you can afford a heat pump, but whether you can afford not to get a heat pump, especially if you have an older system and you're looking at the end of life. It's really, this is a great time to switch. With gas, whether you would save money with a heat pump really depends on quite a few factors: how efficient your gas furnace is, what kind of heat pump you get, how well insulated your house is. You may or may not see cost savings. Some people do switch from gas, even if it sometimes costs them more just because they want the air conditioning or they want to get off fossil fuels in their homes. So people have different motivations. And I just don't want to mislead people and say that that you're going to save money, or at least not a lot of money, by going to a heat pump off gas. That said, we just did hear in the news the past couple of weeks that the price of gas is supposed to dramatically go up this winter, some places as much as 20%. And we are going to start to see gas prices increase both now and in the future. So to sort of protect yourself from the fluctuations in the fossil fuel market, a heat pump is a great option for that too. This ASHP stands for air source heat pump, GSHP for ground source heat pump. And here we're showing that the wood stove is actually the cheapest. And I think actually after last year, that's no longer true either. The price of wood, unless you're chopping it from your own lot, the price of wood has gone up quite a bit. I'll also say about wood, I said I added that fourth C of convenience. I've talked to a lot of people in Chemung and Tompkins County the past year who have been heating very inexpensively with wood, but they're getting older. They're finding wood to be a very inconvenient solution. They can never leave in the winter. They can't go to Florida for a week or two or a month even because they have to stay home and tend that wood stove. And they're just starting to worry about both the inconvenience of the wood and also the health impacts. Burning wood actually is pretty terrible for your health, and people are quite concerned these days, especially with COVID, about their air quality and their lungs. And so for a lot of older folks, we've found that for them, it's worth to pay a little more to be on a heat pump. So New York State, as I said, is invested in helping you to get onto heat pumps. And so they ordered 2 years ago the utilities to take on a 5-year rebate program, which started April 1st of 2020. Ironically, because it was a little bit of an April Fool's joke because they weren't quite ready to do it, but we're trying to iron out the wrinkles, and mostly the customers don't see that. It's the installers who deal with the hiccups of the utilities. But the rebates are as follows: for ground source or geothermal heat pumps, it's $1,500 back per 10,000 BTU hours of the system size. So for a typical person, that's a $4,000 to $9,000 rebate. There's also, through the end of next year, a 26% federal tax credit. So even though, as I said, ground source is the most expensive, there are some very good incentives to help pay for those systems. Air source, we're really happy that there's this $1,000 per 10,000 BTU hour rebate. That happened as a result of a lot of advocacy that didn't used to exist. And right now there's just a $300 federal tax credit because for some reason the Energy Department just treats an air source heat pump like another appliance instead of a heating system. That might change in the future, but that's what exists now. And then, as I said, for that heat pump water heater, there's a $700 rebate and a $300 tax credit, so $1,000 off the price. And if you were to get a heat pump system for your home and a water heater at the same time, this rebate goes up to $950. So these are the incentives that are available to everybody, regardless of income. As long as you are a ratepayer, as long as you are a NYSEG customer and a taxpayer, you are eligible for these rebates on this slide. In addition, there are some income-based grants to help pay for insulation and air sealing. And sometimes, depending on the circumstance, these can be applied to a heat pump as well. So you'll have to talk to me and to an installer about whether that would pertain to your situation. Also, if you don't income qualify for either of these programs, there's this Comfort Home program that offers some small rebates for insulation. I actually just got a $2,500 rebate on an insulation job I contracted for, and we own a home in Rochester where our daughters live, and we got some insulation work and got the Comfort Home rebate. And when you're involved with the HeatSmart program, we also can offer some additional grants through the Finger Lakes Climate Fund that get added on to these other grants. And Eileen, who's going to present after me, will talk a little bit more about these programs, I think. This is a quick plug for how somebody really benefited. We're going to have this webinar with one of our installer partners, Halco, tomorrow at noon, actually. And if you're not available for lunch with us tomorrow, you can look for that video. But this lovely young family out in Erin, their propane boiler was not working. They were trying to heat the house with a pellet stove that wasn't really keeping the house warm. They got in touch with HeatSmart, and we sent their lead on to Halco. And Halco put in a sump pump, gave them insulation, air sealing, and a brand new air source heat pump system. And all of that was paid for with grants. Everything except the sump pump was completely no cost to this family because they were income qualified. And it was basically like they got a whole new house, basically, by taking part in these programs. Here's another example. This is another Chemung County person who worked also, I think this was also with Halco, and they got, as you can see here, a heat pump system, completely for free. This is a gentleman that lives in a mobile home, and all of this insulation, air sealing, and health and safety upgrades to their mobile home as well. Again, for zero cost because they qualified for Empower. If you don't qualify for free stuff, because not all of us do, is financing available, and there's several different opportunities. The Green Jobs Green New York financing, the interest rate depends on your income. So the lowest income earners qualify for this lower rate. And this is a credit union up in Tompkins County that offers energy efficiency loans. And then the installers often can offer financing with banks, with lenders that they've negotiated packages with. So you can ask them about that. So I've been mentioning our installer partners. Installers, contractors have to apply to work with HeatSmart, and they have to have a demonstrated track record of quality work and customer service. They stand by their installations. That means they service and repair every installation that they do. They pay their employees a living wage. They are willing to work as a team with HeatSmart because we demand a lot of them like to do webinars and presentations with us. And they all demonstrate this growth mindset. They're very interested in learning and growing as the state figures out this energy transition. And they really share our values of trying to make, life better for each person that they deal with, as well as trying to do this bigger thing where we're transitioning our energy systems slowly off of fossil fuels. So we have 6 partners, but only 4 of them serve Chemung County. They are Daily Geothermal that does only heat pumps, Simply Installs that does heat pumps and insulation and air sealing, Halco Energy that I mentioned before, they do insulation and air sealing and pretty much anything to do with a home, and Zero Draft that is just home performance, just insulation and air sealing, not heat pumps. And I'm really happy to have added Zero Draft to our program because one of their energy advisors, Sean O'Banion, actually lives right here in Chemung County, and he loves to, help out his neighbors to try to improve conditions in their homes, and he's just a really good guy. So we're happy to be working with all these partners and happy to connect you with them and help you find the one that is right for you. You can get started by signing up with the Horseheads Clean Heat campaign. We have this little form. I'm going to put the link in the chat. But that's the end of my presentation, but I'm now going to, nope, I don't want that. I'm going to turn you over to my friend and colleague, Eileen Hanrahan, who is the Clean Energy or the Community Energy Advisor for the Cornell Cooperative Extension. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to put this link in the chat and go ahead. I'm going to mute myself and go ahead, Eileen, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me tonight. I'm Eileen Hanrahan, Community Energy Advisor with Cornell Cooperative Extension, also funded by NYSERDA. I cover Chemung County, Tioga, Broome, and Chenango counties. And I'm just going to talk a little bit more about what an energy audit is and what it can do for you to help make your home more energy efficient and healthier. Do I have screen sharing capability, Lisa? Find out in a second.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, you do.
Right. So Lisa was talking a little bit about home energy assessments as part of the overall evaluation of a home, not only to determine the need and sizing of an air source or geothermal heat pump system, but for overall energy efficiency. As she mentioned, all residents of New York State can get a free home energy assessment. As long as you pay an NYSEG bill, you pay a small fee on what's called the systems benefit charge, a couple of dollars a month. Everybody pays into that every month, and that pool of money is the money that is used to pay for this program. So I have I'm showing here a couple of typical houses in upstate New York, especially the one on our left as we're looking at the screen. This older home is very typical of upstate New York homes. There's not a lot of new builds in upstate New York. But as you can see in both of these pictures, you see some icicles on the roof, very typical, again, of many homes across New York State. And this, anytime you see icicles, it's a sure indication that the home is not as energy efficient as it could be, because what it's demonstrating is that heat that you heat with your heating system is moving up through the living space into the attic and out through the roof, and therefore melting the snow and causing icicles. So if you have icicles on your house, that's a pretty readily indication that your home isn't as energy efficient as it could be, and that you're probably paying more on your utility bills than you need to be. On the right, you see a newer home. Just so you know, newer homes do not necessarily mean more energy efficient. So all homes, regardless of age, could benefit from a home energy assessment. As you can see in the newer home, there's way more icicles on that one than even the one on the left, which shows that it's even more energy inefficient than the older home. And I'll get into why that occurred in this particular house in a minute. But the purpose for a home energy
Do you want to make the slides a little bigger?
I'm not sure that I can. Are they small on your side? They're really big here. I have them full screen on this end. Are they not that big over there?
Full screen on this end. We have like present. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't want to interrupt you, but if it was easy, I just thought it could make them bigger. They're
Yeah,
not. It's not in present mode. It's like.
Let me see. Really? It's the first time anybody has said that.
It's not a big deal, but it's just, I know that they're just nice slides and it's nice to see them.
So are they really tiny for you?
No, not tiny, but it's not showing it in the full screen view, in the like slideshow view.
Interesting. I'm not even sure. I'm not seeing the present view.
Okay, don't worry about it. Sorry.
I've seen present view before, but I'm not seeing it today.
Okay, not a big deal.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes if you do in Google Docs, it's a little bit different than PowerPoint, I guess. So hopefully you can see these pretty well. So what do we do and what is the purpose of a home energy audit? Well, if you were to add up all the air leaks in your home around your outlets, around your windows, underneath your door, any other poor insulation and so forth throughout your home. If you added up all those air leaks, it would be equivalent to an open window in your home that's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you can see that how much energy and heat and inefficiency is literally going out your window every day. So we want to, the goal of a home energy assessment is to determine where all your energy leaks are, your air leaks are, so that we can seal up those air leaks and make your home more energy efficient. It's kind of similar to putting a big thick blanket around your home to make it, to reduce air leaks and make it more energy efficient. And so what takes place in an energy audit? A New York State approved contractor would come into your home, Zero Draft is an example, Halco is an example, to do a very comprehensive home energy assessment. It could take up to a couple of hours, depending on the size of your home. And what they do during that audit is check for air leaks throughout the home. They'll check your insulation levels in your attic, living space, and basement. They'll check your heating system, any fossil fuel based heating system for safety and efficiency. Check your hot water heater for safety and efficiency, and any fossil fuel based appliances for safety and efficiency as well, just to make sure that they're not spewing any carbon monoxide or just generally being unsafe and inefficient. And then just to give you an example of building science, when the home energy auditor is looking at your home, the reason why they're looking at insulation levels in your attic and your living space in your basement is simple stack effect is taking place inside the home. And basically what stack effect means is air moves through your home, just very, very similar to how it would move through a chimney. You heat the air in your home, it rises. And if you don't have enough insulation in your attic, it rises up through the attic and out through the roof. And that creates a negative pressure inside the house. So that allows cold air to come in at the bottom of your house where your house sits on your foundation, in creating that stack effect. So that cold air comes in, you heat it with your heating system, it rises up through the living space and back out the attic again. So that's that system that's kind of going on consistently through your home, can happen in an inefficient home as many as 20 times an hour. So you can imagine heating the air in your home 20 times an hour and it's just gone again. And then you reheat it and it's gone again. Ideally in an energy efficient home, you'll only see that turnover about less than 1 time an hour. So the goal is to reduce, the primary places to provide energy efficiency in your home is to insulate the attic, and then also the rim joists around in the basement where the house sits on the foundation. So those are the 2 primary areas the auditor will be looking for insulation. Then they'll also be looking around windows and outlets and things like that for other areas where there's energy inefficiency and air leaks. One of the ways they check on the degree of air leaks in the house is using a blower door test. They basically seal off the front door, close all the windows and all the doors throughout the house, seal off the front door with this plastic kind of tarp, and put a fan in the bottom of it, turn that fan on and suck air out of your house and push it outside. And that creates the equivalent of a 20-mile-an-hour wind through your house. And then with that, they can walk around the house and see where all your air leaks are. Some contractors will use a thermal camera as well. They'll look around the house. And in this case, you can see in the top right, a lot of hot air is up in the attic space. And when we think back to that newer home we were just looking at a little while ago, that house had a lot of recessed lights, which are very popular and look really nice and so forth. But if they're not insulated properly, you have a bunch of little chimneys in those recessed lights. So that's why that house had all those icicles, because heat is just going up right all through those recessed lights into the attic and then out through the roof. And in the picture on the left, you can see where there's insulation had been blown into those walls a number of years ago, but have settled. And so that the whole wall is not properly insulated. And I just remember that you wanted me to do this in about 5 minutes, so I got to wrap this up. So once the auditor does the assessment to determine your insulation levels in your attic and around your rim joists and in your living space walls and any other energy inefficiency that's going on with the heating systems and hot water heater and so forth, they will bring their teams in to do the work that needs to be done to make your home more energy efficient. And if you're Empower eligible, low income, median income, or higher income, there are, as Lisa mentioned, some incentives available. If you're low income, you can get up to $10,000 of grant funding to do all of these measures. If you're more median income, there's $5,000 up to $5,000 of matching funds available to do this work. And if you're higher income, there's anywhere from about $1,000 to $4,000 available to do prescribed work. So this is just a look at a local contractor putting some blown-in cellulose insulation in the walls, and then also using spray foam to insulate the roof, and some new construction on some living space walls. So I think Lisa mentioned the income eligibility, for example, for the Empower program. Many New Yorkers qualify for this program. So you can get very, very significant home energy upgrades done on your home for absolutely for free. And then with the Assisted Home Performance Program, again, a lot of New Yorkers are eligible for this program as well to get the matching funds up to $5,000 towards home energy upgrades. This is just a quick success story of this gentleman. used to keep his house at 74 degrees, and it was really still very drafty in his home. He had icicles that were so big that they were reaching down to his hedges and damaging his hedges. He went up on his roof to break them off and fell off his roof and broke his back. Halco, I believe, was the contractor that went in to do the home energy assessment and performed energy upgrades. They put insulation in the attic, in the rim joist, and did a bunch of other stuff to the home. And now this gentleman is saving a ton of money on his utility bills. He can keep the house at 68 degrees, so 6 degrees less than he did before, and still have the same amount of comfort and warmth in the home. So he's very, very happy with what was done for his home. And I think that's what I'll just wrap it up with, unless, does anybody have any questions?
Actually, Eileen, let's go to, I want to introduce next, and thank you so much. And we're going to do Q&A for all of us sort of at the end. So I'm going to go next to Gary Chalet, who is a friend and a neighbor of mine up here on the hill up above Horseheads, up above the village. And Gary was at a presentation, Eileen, that you and I did at the Big Flats Community Center when about a year ago, I think, or I can't remember when it was because time no longer has meaning, but
Right.
but Gary went through the HeatSmart program, and so I invited him here to give a little testimonial, and then we'll take questions at the end. So thank you, Eileen, so much for that. So take it away, Gary, and tell us the story of your HeatSmart journey.
Thank you, Lisa, and I'm happy to be here and share our experience. As Lisa mentioned, we had been to a program out at the Big Flats Community Center, and that kind of got us thinking about things. We are one of those homes. It's actually an all-electric home, but it was very well built initially, and we heat most of the house with wood. But as was also mentioned, as you get older, that becomes a little more of a challenge, although I still love it. I love going up in the woods and working. But we also felt that we could make the house a little more evenly heated. And so we looked into an air source heat pump, and the company came out and they did the assessment, and they checked for insulation. I built this house myself, so I have the wherewithal and the knowledge. I did all of the insulation work myself, and then they installed an air source heat pump. And so there's one condenser outside. It's tucked under our deck, so you don't even see it. We have, along with that, we have 3 units inside. 2 of them in the main living area, 1 in the dining room, 1 in the living room, and then 1 down in an exposed cellar in the family room. And that does a wonderful job heating 3/4 of the house very nicely. We still use the wood stove because we just love the feel of it. And but we found that the heat pump does a very good job. And the bonus was we looked at it originally for heat, but the bonus, as Lisa mentioned, was you get air conditioning too. And this summer, as you know, it was fairly hot and muggy for quite a while. So it was wonderful to have that flexibility. And it's considerably less expensive for me than when we were using our electric heaters. So all around, it was a great program. They came and checked on everything after they'd done it. They came back after a year to do a final check, and they made a couple of adjustments. I had discovered a few things, and they took care of that beautifully. And so it's a wonderful program. I really recommend it. It does save money. It does heat and cool your home much better than what you had before. So I'm a great advocate for it.
Gary, did you also get the water heater?
We're doing that now. You won't believe it, but we have a water heater that's 42 years old and it's still working fine, but it's all electric. So we're looking into the combination electric and heat pump. That's our next project.
Yeah, we can talk about that after. I should say that for people should know that the rebate for the water heater is one actually that you can get yourself. So even if you don't go through HeatSmart and you just put in the water heater yourself, or you get a plumber or an electrician or Lowe's to do it, you can get that $700 rebate and the $300 tax credit. The rebates for the heat pumps for the heating only can be gotten through a New York State clean heat certified contractor, but that's not true for the water heaters. So just want to let you guys know that. So thank you, Gary and Eileen. So these community campaigns with the town and the village of Horseheads, if 10 members of our community get a heat pump or a heat pump water heater or an installation job done, then they will have completed this community campaign, and NYSERDA will give the town a $5,000 grant for doing the campaign. So, you know, 5,000 doesn't go a long way, but it is actually a really nice thing for the town to get this little bit of a benefit for helping to spread the word about these programs. So, you know, what we've found in HeatSmart is we do a lot of outreach. We do these webinars, we send out postcards, we have radio ads, we have TV ads, but by far and away, the way most people come and learn about the program is because their friend, their neighbor, their sister, their mother told them about it. And so we're going to just ask you guys, you know, maybe right now is the right time for you to get this assessment done with your house. But even more importantly is to make sure you think about who else do you know who could benefit? Do you know somebody who's income qualified? Do you know somebody who's in a home that's in bad shape and could use some help, or just is, you know, out in the country and spending $3,000-4,000 a year on propane? That could be cut to $500 a year for their heat. So if they put in a geothermal system. So, you know, we love to talk to the people who come to these webinars, but we also count on everybody to help spread the word, and just so incredibly grateful to the town and the village. Thank you to Don and to Mark for being here. And we have some time now to take any questions people might have.
Lisa,
Yes, Dawn.
I have a couple friends that live in the village that their houses are the ones that are just on a slab. So does it matter that they don't have a basement?
Great question. So for the air source heat pumps, you don't need a basement, right? Because there's a piece that sits outside and then the other pieces are inside. For the heat pump water heaters, though, they aren't great in a living space, because for two reasons. One, they are taking some heat energy out of the air to preheat that water. And also they're a little bit noisy. So they're not really great to put like in a utility room behind a louvered door, for example, that's in your living space. So that's not a super great solution for a house on a slab. But the heat pump systems themselves for heating and cooling are great with a slab. That's a very good question. But yes.
I also wondered, do you have to be a homeowner? Can you be a renter?
Another great question. You can absolutely be a renter, but it's a little bit more complicated because both the homeowner and the renter are going to have to do some paperwork. Eileen, do you want to take that and talk about the split incentive and sort of how, do you have any examples locally of how that's worked?
Yeah, let me just backtrack just a little bit. With regard to the Clean Energy Communities Program, in order to get to the $5,000 incentive, you have to have 10 people get a home energy assessment and some work done. 3 of them have to get an air source heat pump or some sort of air source heat pump. So I just want to let you know that you don't have to get an air source heat pump in order to qualify for this money, which is so the bar is a little lower in that regard.
They could all be water heaters. All the heat pumps can be water heaters too. Like literally the town could get a complete campaign with 7 people that get an insulation upgrade and 3 water heaters, you know. But what we have found is actually in the campaigns we've completed, it's actually been a lot of full home heat pump systems, which has been nice to see. Anyway, go ahead, Eileen. Thanks
yeah.
for including that.
So, right, so with regard to a house on a slab, you can still get a home energy assessment and home energy upgrades, especially if you can crawl under that house. If it's, you know, enough room to crawl under there, and they can insulate underneath too sometimes. So I just don't want you to think, oh, I'm on a slab, I can't do any of this. So just be aware of that. And with landlords and renters, a renter used to have to pay their own utilities to qualify for this program, but that is not the case anymore. And if the renter qualifies for, say, the Empower program, which is the low income program, we can do a lot of free upgrades to the home, like insulation and things like that. Anything that the landlord owns, like a heating system, they would have to pay a portion of that money at this point. So say they qualify, say the landlord qualifies for the assisted home performance program, but the tenant qualifies for Empower, we can do up to $10,000 worth of energy upgrades to the home as far as insulation goes. If the furnace needs an upgrade, we would do the matching funds program up to $5,000 with the landlord, so we can kind of combine the two programs in that way. I hope that answers your question.
So in particular, like my sister owns a rental property, 2 rental properties in Horseheads. They don't meet any income guidelines, but their tenants might.
Yes,
Right.
so if tenants meet the income guidelines and they're willing to fill out the application, and your sister as a landlord is willing to support the process, then together they can do this application, and either Simply Installs or Halco or Zero Draft can help navigate that. They know how to work with the tenant landlord situations, and they help you make sure you get all the paperwork in order. It is definitely more complicated because it's more people having to agree to do the same thing at the same time, but it's certainly possible, and we've seen it done. And especially done in the case where the landlord is keen, it's more likely to be successful. Sometimes the tenants have difficulty getting the interest of a landlord, but if the landlord is interested, then it works out well. I was going to say, Gail, you have some experience with this. Do you want to?
Yep, I'm the landlord, and I have a tenant. Well, my tenant just moved, but it worked out really well. It was an easy process. It was not difficult. And boy, was he happy.
Gail, what kind of work did you get done?
Okay, all the insulation, and it made a huge difference. Huge. I lived downstairs, he lived upstairs. I even had a room in the back that had 3 registers, and it still was cold. And now it is really warm like the rest of the house, and there's only 2 registers in it. And I've turned my heat up, and my bill still has gone down. I cannot recommend it enough. Thank you, Eileen.
You're very welcome, Gail. I just realized that was you. It's good to see you again.
That was me. Absolutely, the insulation, and I had an allergic reaction to the insulation in the cellar, and it's been 2 years, and now I say it was worth it.
Good.
Gail is very chemically sensitive. Most people don't have.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know anybody else that's ever had an allergic reaction to it, but it was.
When you get spray foam done, you and your pets should stay out of the house for at least 24 hours. And
Yes.
I tell everybody that. So, and Gail, you also got a water heater recently, right?
Oh, yes.
You
No,
wanna-
I haven't been able to get down the cellar steps to look at it. I'm surprised that you say that it makes noise. I hear no noise up here.
You know why? Because of all the insulation that you have. You probably can't hear
Well,
it.
there's no insulation on the floor,
Right.
and the metal registers
So
should.
Gail, do you want to tell them how you got the water heater?
My hot water heater broke down. I called Lisa. And I don't know how you did it. but she performed some kind of magic, and Zero Draft did it. And Sean, you're absolutely right. Sean is amazing. He is absolutely amazing. And we've kind of become friends. I'm helping him learn how to be a landlord. So it's just been a wonderful experience. And I really wanted to come here and tell everybody that it is not that hard.
And Gail, I think you got the hybrid heat pump water heater for free through Empower, right? Because
All free.
Yeah.
Everything was free. Installation, everything was free. I have paid nothing.
that's such a good, happy news.
Maybe it's a perk of being old.
There's got to be some perk.
Hey, I worked in human services, nonprofits, no pension. And somehow it's worked out for me. Thank you. And Lisa, I know you work overtime to get this for me. Thank you.
Well, that's what we do. We want to make sure people find out how to take advantage of these services, and that you're the second emergency water heater that I was able to get a heat pump water heater for in Elmira this year. So it's been very happy to do that. Mark reminded me in the chat that the rebates that are available are not just for residential buildings. Commercial buildings can get them too. So if you have a business that you're looking to upgrade, those rebates are available to you, unless you have a building that's like over 10,000 square feet or something like that. Then it's a different incentive structure, but the same rebates that I listed for residences are available for commercial buildings for heat pumps. So and for the water heaters. So, take advantage of that. Of course, the insulation grants, Empower and Assisted Home Performance, are only for low-income residents and for existing buildings. I've had some low-income people building little tiny houses and wanting to get those benefits, and they are not available for new construction, unfortunately, because in this area, sometimes it's actually cheaper to build your own little house on a little scrap of land than to buy something existing or rent. So anyway, the programs aren't perfect, but we try to make them work as well as we can for everybody. Any more questions or comments as we wrapping up? We're getting close to 8 o'clock here, I see. Okay.
Lisa, do you mind if I provide my contact information to folks?
Well, I'm asking people because it's this town campaign to sign up through the town's link, and then if there's people looking for an energy audit or an installation, I will pass those to you. But
Okay, that's fine.
But yeah, you can certainly put your information there. And the folks on here today are all sort of us who are working on this campaign together. We had one outside guest, and I think she's dropped off. So
Okay, no worries. I forgot you posted that. I remember that now in your slideshow.
Yeah. It's just a way to track what comes in for the town. So the other thing is, Mark and Don, if people come through the HeatSmart program or through Eileen's program, even during the time period of this campaign, we can count those towards the town's campaign. Eileen, I don't know if you have any Horseheads leads currently or have recently, but we can tally those up and see how quickly we can get to 10.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'll do that. I'll look at those.
So I'm going to throw this back to you guys, Mark and Don, to say goodnight. And thank you so much for hosting this webinar and for taking this, for working with HeatSmart and Mothers Out Front on this community campaign. And we're excited to get it going.
I appreciate you taking the time and doing this. I think it's a great program. Eileen, if you would email me your information to supervisor@townofhorseheads, all one word, .org.
Yes, and I sent you guys all an email before this meeting, so everyone should have everyone else's email.
Okay.
So take a look for that. You'll have Eileen's information as well as mine and Gary's, and we were all on one email. So.
Okay, and I look forward to doing this some more as we grow.
Terrific.
Great.
Mark, any last words? I know you want to go turn on the game.
No, that's fine. This is important stuff here. The endorsements from Gail and Gary are just phenomenal. That should be a huge plus. So once this gets out there and more people see, how beneficial HeatSmart is and all the hard work that you folks have put into this, it's definitely appreciated, and we're proud to be part of the whole program. So thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. I have some HeatSmart Chemung yard signs. I'm hoping that I can get those, you all to put them up in your yards. I know Horseheads has the village has some restrictions, but I think you can put it up at least for 30 days or something like that. So I'll get
Tougher, but yeah.
to help spread the word. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks for spending an hour with us. This has been really fun, and it's just fun to think about all of the ways that we're working together to help get the word out. I'll send you this recording that can go up on the town and village websites, and we'll keep working on the campaign. So
Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank
Thank you, everybody.
you. Good night.
take care.